We have here this Eurovan. Normally I would say the year of the Eurovan, but that's debatable. The VIN is X, so that would make that a 98 Eurovan. Every time I try and order parts for this Eurovan, because I have a long history with this Eurovan, I can't get parts for a 98 Eurovan. I end up having to buy parts for a 2000 Eurovan, and generally they're right. So I don't know whether this is some type of special import, or I really don't know, and I don't care. This is one of the annoying things about Eurovans. They're a little hard to get parts for, they're a little hard to get technical information for, they're a little hard to diagnose. But the customer's concerned, he was driving it here because he has a heating problem, and we've already looked at that, and it needs blend doors and a heater core. Whether or not the customer okays that or not, I don't know, and that's going to play into what repairs we do to the rest of it. It is a nice van. He has some nice upgrades on it, like the headlights are upgraded, and they work really, really nice, and he has some electronics in there, and he seems to like the van. He put a transmission in it many years ago with me, and like I said, I have a long history with this van. So, and he drives some other his family drives some other Volkswagens also. So he was driving it here for us to check the temperature problem. You know, it's not blowing hot out of the vents. And he has, as he was driving here, it started misfiring. Now, I don't know if the check engine light was on before, but I do know that he said as he was driving here, the check engine light started flashing. So it was flashing. He just went ahead and kept coming and drove it here, and he said it was misfiring. He's feeling some chugging, some shaking, and I did road test the vehicle, you know, checking out the heat problem, and it is chugging and shaking and misfiring. We'll scan the computer system and see if we can get this misfire identified. At this point, he still wanted me to diagnose the misfire, even though he's not sure he's going to fix the temperature problem. It may be a situation where he's going to try and live with the temperature problem because it is nearing summer now, so he could survive through the summer because he won't need the heat that much during the summer, and maybe we'll fix it again before next winter. But we'll do a scan, see what kind of data stream we have. The data stream, if I remember right, is different. I work on a few of these. I actually own one of these also, but it's broke down. It's a trans. But I work on several of these, and the data stream coming out of the measuring blocks is very much similar to other Volkswagens that I work on. But on this one, it's different. That's why it seems like an early one, like a 98, and so it's definitely different. Moving on, it acts like an early car. Let's scan it and see what it shows. Let's get this key on. Kind of liking the new touchscreen laptop. The screen flicker seems a lot less also. Turn the heat off here, it's making a lot of noise. Okay, so the first one, secondary air injection. Obviously that probably isn't going to cause a misfire. Main catalyst efficiency below threshold. Chances are good he burned out the cat on the way here, or maybe the cat was already burned up. The third one there, fuel injector for cylinder number 4, N33, short to plus. That can cause a misfire. And random misfire, cylinder number 4 misfire. So we have a cylinder 4 misfire and a fuel injector for cylinder 4, trouble code. And then another random misfire, another cylinder 4 misfire, and cylinder 1 misfire. So with regards to direction, I do know that we put a coil on and spark plugs and wires on this van at some point in the history of this van. I don't remember exactly when. Customer, you know, when it starts misfiring, he wants to point that out as if this is a warranty repair, and maybe it is. I doubt it with a fuel injector trouble code, but I guess with a fuel injector trouble code, that needs to be our direction. Let's see if we can see anything. Oh, let me start this up so you guys can hear it run. Oh, On an interesting side note, here's what our check engine light looks like. That's it right there. It's actually a LED. It's not like a symbol with a LED behind it. It's actually an LED on an early one like this. 174,000 miles. Obviously the check engine light isn't flashing right now, but I did road test this vehicle in order to diagnose the temperature problem, and it was flashing. I had to get it warmed up enough to diagnose the problem, so let me pop the hood here. Can't see it much. This engine's definitely shaking. I can see it without, I don't look at the camera, but see if I can hold this still here. There, you can kind of see it shaking there. So definitely misfiring. Well, I gotta say, if it is a problem with the fuel injector, and if the fuel injector is injecting fuel, then it isn't gonna run rich, so it isn't gonna burn up the cat. Yet we do have a cat code. Probably should check the data stream, see if there's misfire counters on this. Some things I see right off the bat here is AC's unplugged for some reason. This is that AC pressure switch. There's the connector right there. These hoses are not factory. You may not be able to see that based on the overexposure of the light, but there is definitely an wetness of antifreeze right there. We just did one of these on one of my other customers, and he built something like that out of brass. Oh no, wait, he built that down there. A little T, it has like a 1-inch, maybe 3/4 heater hose passing through, and then a real small nipple coming out. He built that out of brass fittings at the hardware store. Because the only way to get that from Volkswagen is to buy the whole hose assembly, which is expensive, like $100 or $200. I can't remember how much it is. When he built the one out of brass, he gave me one for my Eurovan, although mine doesn't need it. But it looks like this brake booster hose has been taped up, and there's a big crack in that right there. I would, you see that crack in the hose? I might assume that it's running lean because of that, but it didn't have any lean codes. I guess I can check fuel trim. There's the coil that we put on it. Later ones of these Eurovans have coil on plug, but this one has spark plug wires. Guess we could do a cylinder drop test, or a cylinder contribution test by pulling spark plug wires off to verify which cylinder is misfiring, but you kind of know it has that fuel injector code on number 4. I don't think that'd be the best direction. I'm not so intimately familiar with these that I know where the fuel injectors are. At this point, I don't have a clue. Showing my ignorance here. Oh wait, I think I see one. Way down in there. Let's see if I can zoom in there. Yep, that's the fuel injector down there. Can't see any of the others. Maybe there's a chance if we rack this up we can look from the bottom and see one of them, maybe see some of the harness. With regards to direction, obviously we need to chase the fuel injector trouble code first, because the fuel injector trouble code is consistent with the misfire trouble code. Let's look at the data stream, measuring blocks, and see if we have any misfire counters. Yeah, the screen flickers very, very much better on this than the other laptop. Okay, measuring blocks. On other vehicles, it's 15 and 16. Obviously, that isn't the case on this one. I think I'm going to pause this and scroll through the data and see if there is any misfire counters. Okay, as I scroll through, I found group number 9, and the last 2 fields show misfires It looks like something slash per second. Maybe this is per bank. I don't know, but there's no others that I found. Let's see if Rostec can tell us anything in the label file. Looking for number 9. Oh, way past it. And it just skips right over number 9. Interesting. Obviously it's showing misfires on this side, but nothing over here. I don't know that that's per bank, but don't know how to use that. It doesn't seem to be going up, and the engine's definitely misfiring right now. It's not terrible, but it is definitely shaking. With regards to direction, I don't know at this point. We'll need to get a schematic and look at how the injectors are wired, and we'll go ahead and put it on the rack. These Eurovans always have a real big metal cover, so I don't know if we're going to be able to see anything down there, but we can at least look underneath the intake and see if there's any injectors that we can see. I would guess we're probably going to have to pull the intake in order to do any work on the injectors, but maybe we can find a fuse that powers the injectors and amp clamp it, or maybe there's a wire that's easily accessible. We'll rack the car up and maybe I'll show you something down under there. Okay, bottom covers come off pretty easy on these, and they hang there after you pull them. But there's nothing to see under here. I'm sure the wiring comes through here, although which loom I don't quite know. But all the wiring comes through here and heads up this direction for the whole engine. One of those wires is probably it. We'll go get a schematic and see if we can go from there. Oh, I guess I need to point out here, there's some mouse nest fuzz here, big portions of it. So they've been chewing on something, carrying it around. Maybe our wire's chewed and that's what's causing our injector problem. We don't have a lot of injector problems here. Just don't see a lot of failed injectors. Okay, we have printed a wiring schematic and found the fuel injectors here. It looks like they're numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is the number 4 injector. And the number 4 injector on the ground side, I would assume, comes over here to the computer. All the injectors do so. And then on the power side, they both connect to this red and blue wire here. And these red and blue wires come together over to the second page of the schematic, where they join at this fuel pump fuse. It comes out of the relay and it also goes over here to the fuel pump. So it'd be real quick and easy to jump into that fuse right there at the fuse box, but then we'd get the pattern of the fuel pump on top of the pattern of the injectors. So I'm going to try and do it somewhere else. Let me walk over to the vehicle, I'll show you what I found. Okay, fairly easy to get to right here is this harness, and I've kind of compared the wiring colors, and you see those two all of them are gray, and then there's 2 red and blue wires. Let me open that up. Maybe we can amp clamp those 2 red and blue wires and get our scope pattern there. Okay, put my amp clamp around the 2 red and blue wires. Got it on the 20 amp scale. It's very near these spark plug wires, so there's bound to be some interference. Not much I can do about that, I don't think. Maybe I can tie those up out of the way. Let me go get a bungee. Okay, those are tied up out of the way, much better. Okay, let's get this thing started. You'll hear some rattling coming from the rack. It's that piece up there rattles when this vehicle shakes. Okay, and obviously I have the amp clamp around backwards, because the pattern's going downwards. Reverse that over. Okay, hopefully that's better. And I already set the probe. Let me change the time scale just a bit. It's on auto range. Let me set that to 10 amps. And we'll set a trigger on it. The trigger's probably going to catch that spike. So it is catching that spike sometimes. I could set it up where we trigger off the negative slope after this pulse width, but I think we can get the information we need without doing that. Let me change the time frame here. It's hard to tell with it continuously moving around, but you get 6 of them on the screen here. And I'll pause it. And as you can see here, there's a blank. There's no current draw from this injector. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then there's no current draw from this injector. I would assume that's injector number 4, since that's the one we have a trouble code for. Obviously this could be a wiring problem. For instance, if the wire between the connector that I've just amp clamped around going back to the computer was chewed by a mouse, then that could be the issue there. I'll come up with some checks to confirm that that isn't the problem, but obviously we have no current flow through that number 4 injector. Okay, you can see my the splash of yellow there. That's a back probe into the ground side of the number 4 injector, and I'm trying to see if the computer's commanding it. I'm not sure this is the best test. It's just the first thing I come up with. Be nice to see that the computer is able to control amperage through there. Maybe hook a test light to the positive of the battery and then touch that wire and see if the test light flashes while the engine's running. That would show that that wire is good between that connector and the computer. I'm not sure if that'd be a good test, because it might draw the test light might draw more amperage than the injector. Might be a good check to just unplug that and ohm check the wire to see if the injector is actually open. Could be open in the harness as well. Obviously we've had some mouse intrusion on this vehicle, so the mouse could have got behind there and chewed on the wires. Either way, the intake's got to come off, whether we pull the intake and replace the injector or pull the intake and repair some wiring. But I just want to make sure that the wire between this connector and the computer is good, because that can cause an injector trouble code, and that can cause no amp flow through the injector, and that's what I need to eliminate to be sure that the problem is from there to there. Ohm check might do that if it ohm checked bad. Well, let's see what this test shows right now. Okay, so here's what I'm seeing. We have, let me pause this. We have our missing amp pattern for the injector here, and there's a little flicker here. I've added a second channel, obviously. I did use a 20-to-1 attenuator, but where this amp pattern should be on the injector, I'm seeing this flicker in the second channel of the scope. Same thing here, seeing that flicker, and the problem is the voltage is at 0. If our problem was in the wire between the connector that were back probed in the computer, then we would have 12 volts right here. So I think that's conclusive enough. Our problem is definitely between that connector under the intake. Either a mouse has chewed the wire under the intake or the injector is open. So we'll have to pull the intake to know. Okay, I've back probed a different injector so that we can see what the pattern looks like when there is continuity through that connector and through the injector. You can hear that tapping. That's that rack right there. There's a, probably can't see it shaking up there, but the thing rattles whenever the engine runs on the rack. That thing rattles. But what we have here, obviously on our second channel, voltage is not sitting at 0 like it was on the other injector, and voltage is up there about 12, charging voltage 14 maybe, 13, 14. And you can see there's a pattern where it grounds the injector to fire it. And of course this, let me pause this. And you can see this injector control lines up with actual amp draw pattern on that injector. So pretty conclusive. Our problem is underneath the intake, whether it be the wire or the injector. We'll call the customer and get a approval to fix it. What I'm going to estimate to the customer, this is obviously a big job pulling this intake. It doesn't look like any fun at all, although the front end of these cars folds forward to make it easier to work on. But I'm definitely seeing some, you probably can't see that very well down there, but the valve cover's leaking some. We're going to do a valve cover while we're in there. We're going to replace this hose since it's taped up here and cracked there. A lot of the vacuum hoses, the little bitty small ones like this right here, are very, very weak, and just bumping them knocks them off their nipples. So we're going to replace a bunch of those, including those there, these here, a bunch of them that are under the intake there. But I think this is conclusive. We need to pull that intake to inspect, but probably we're going to replace the ejector in there or repair some wires. Well, I've called the customer to get their okay to do the work on this, and at this point the customer has not okayed the work. I don't know whether he's going to okay the work or not. Understand that his heat doesn't work and he has a blend door problem, and the complete dash needs to be removed in order to fix the blend door and replace the heater core. That's an expensive proposition, and this repair of pulling the intake and doing the repair here on the misfire is much cheaper than the blend doors, but it isn't cheap, and the two things together are nearing the value of the vehicle to this customer. So he may not repair it. If we get to do a repair, I will make a second video on just briefly overview showing the repair and showing the fixed vehicle. Not on the blend doors, just on the misfire. So unfortunately I have to end this video here, and if you learned anything from this video, if you have a Eurovan like this, want to see more Eurovan videos, click the like button and subscribe. I understand it takes a lot of effort by me to make these videos. The editing process is miserable, and filming it is kind of easy. The diagnosis on these things is fun, and sharing the information is nice, and when there's nice comments, I really appreciate it. If you'd like to financially contribute to the continued production of these videos, you can find the donate icon on my website at www.kansascitytdi.com.